My son took my country house and gave it to his wife's family. He said, "It's theirs now. You have no rights to go there." I just nodded and smiled. When they arrived to move in, they were shocked at what they saw. I will tell you everything from the beginning. But first, let me quickly thank each and every one of you beautiful souls watching Granny's Voice today. Your love and support fills my heart with joy. If you enjoy the stories I share, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. I love reading your comments, so tell me what city you're watching from today. I might give you a special shout-out in my next story. Today's wonderful shout-out goes to Sweet Emma from California. Thank you for your kind words, dear heart. Now, let me tell you exactly what happened at my country house. I've lived a long life, 73 years to be exact, and I've learned that sometimes the quietest response carries the most power. People expect tears, arguments, fighting back. But honey, I've discovered that a gentle smile can move mountains that shouting never could. The country house wasn't just any house. It was my sanctuary. My late husband, Robert, and I bought that little cabin 45 years ago when our son, Michael, was just 3 years old. Back then, it was nothing special. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a tiny kitchen. But oh, the dreams we had. Robert worked extra shifts at the factory every weekend for 5 years to pay for the additions. I can still see him on Saturday mornings, coffee cup in one hand, measuring tape in the other, planning where we'd build the big front porch. "Martha," he'd say, "someday we're going to sit on that porch swing and watch our grandchildren play in this yard." And we did, dear ones. We absolutely did. I painted every room while little Michael napped. Robert built that porch board by board. We planted the apple trees that now tower over the property. Every corner held a memory. Every floorboard told a story. When Robert passed away 8 years ago, that house became even more precious. It was where I felt closest to him. His spirit lived in every creaking step and familiar shadow. After he died, I spent every weekend out there. Sometimes I stayed a whole week, sitting on that porch swing he built, drinking my morning coffee, talking to him like he was still right there beside me. Sure, the gutters leaked in heavy rains, and some window screens had tiny holes. But it was mine, the one place on earth where I felt completely at peace, completely myself. Michael visited often in those first few years. He'd bring his wife, Sandra, and their 2 little ones. We had such wonderful times. But gradually, the visits grew less frequent. Sandra seemed uncomfortable, always complaining about the old furniture or the outdated kitchen. I should have paid more attention to the signs. Michael had been different for months before the conversation that changed everything. Our weekly phone calls got shorter. When I suggested family dinners, he was always too busy with work or Sandra's family obligations. Sandra barely spoke to me when we did see each other. She sat scrolling her phone while I tried to talk to my grandchildren. I kept telling myself it was just a phase, that all families go through difficult periods. I made excuses because I loved them so much. But looking back now, I can see they were planning to take advantage of my gentle nature. They mistook my kindness for weakness, my love for foolishness. The conversation that broke my heart happened on a cold Tuesday morning in November. Michael asked to meet for lunch at Peterson's Diner, the little place where I used to buy him chocolate chip pancakes when he was small. I thought he wanted to talk about Christmas plans or ask for advice. I was so excited to spend time with my son, but when I arrived, his face was serious, almost cold. He barely touched his food, just fidgeted with his napkin like he was working up the courage for something. Finally, he looked at me and said, "Mom, Sandra's parents are having financial troubles. Their apartment lease is up next month, and they can't afford to renew it." I nodded, already thinking of ways we could help. Then Michael dropped the bomb that shattered my world. "We've decided to let them live in the country house. It's perfect for them. They're retired, and they need somewhere peaceful to spend their golden years." I felt ice water pour through my veins, but I stayed calm and kept my voice steady. "Michael, honey, that's my house. That's where your father and I—" He cut me off with a wave. "Mom, let's be realistic. You barely use the place anymore. It's just sitting there empty. Sandra's parents will take good care of it, and it solves everyone's problems." The way he said it, so casual, so dismissive, like my feelings didn't matter at all. Like 45 years of memories meant nothing. I stared at this man who looked like my son but sounded like a stranger. "Michael," I said quietly, "that house is where you learned to ride your bike, where we celebrated every birthday and Christmas, where your father taught you to fish in the pond out back." He shifted in his seat. "I know, Mom, but that's in the past. We have to think practically. Sandra's parents don't have anywhere else to go, and you have your house in town. You don't need two houses. Need. As if love and memories and a lifetime of sacrifice could be measured by need. As if the place where I felt closest to my husband was just extra property to hand out like charity. Have you discussed this with Sandra's parents?" I asked, though I already knew. "Of course," he said, and looked a little guilty. "They're very grateful. Sandra's mom is already planning how to arrange the furniture and where to put her sewing machine. They planned it all without asking me, forgetting that every stick of furniture had been chosen by Robert and me, that every room held sacred memories they would trample with their rearrangements. A sharp pain clutched my chest. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't pound my fist like every fiber of me wanted to. I reached across the table and patted my son's hand gently. "If that's what you've decided, Michael, then I suppose that's what will happen." Confusion, then relief, then something like disappointment crossed his face. I think part of him expected me to fight. But I learned long ago, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Sometimes silence speaks louder than screams. Sometimes gentle acceptance can accomplish what arguments never could. After lunch, I drove straight to my lawyer's office. Mr. Harrison has handled our family's legal matters for over 20 years. He was one of Robert's closest friends and knew every detail of our finances. "Martha," he said when I walked in with tears finally streaming, "what's wrong?" I told him everything. Michael's announcement, Sandra's parents moving in, the plans made without me. Mr. Harrison's face darkened with each word. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that changed everything. "Martha, do you remember the special provisions Robert insisted we put in his will?" My Robert was not just a loving husband and father. He was wise. 5 years before he passed, he insisted on very specific language about the country house. "Martha," he'd said, "I love Michael with all my heart, but I've seen what happens when property and money get involved. People change. They forget what's important. So Robert made sure the country house couldn't be given away or sold without specific procedures. The house was placed in a family trust with me as sole trustee. Even if something happened to me, the house couldn't be transferred to non-family members without a court review." Mr. Harrison pulled the thick folder with Robert's will and spread the papers across his desk. "Look here," he said, pointing to a paragraph I'd forgotten. "Robert was very clear. The country house must remain in the family bloodline. If anyone attempts to transfer ownership or possession to non-family without proper legal procedures, the trust automatically takes over management." My heart beat faster as I read Robert's words. "What does that mean exactly?" I asked. Mr. Harrison smiled. For the first time that day, I felt a spark of hope. "It means your son cannot give that house to his in-laws. Legally, it's impossible without your written consent and a court order." Robert had thought of everything. Not only was the house protected, but the trust also included funds for maintenance and repairs, money sitting in a special account all these years, earning interest, waiting to be used. "How much?" I asked. "With interest over 8 years," he said, "about $47,000 for maintenance, taxes, and security measures. $47,000. My beloved Robert was still taking care of us from beyond the grave. All those extra shifts and weekends had paid for more than lumber. He had built a fortress of protection Michael never knew existed. What happens now?" I asked. "We formally activate the trust and notify all parties," he said. "Official letters to Michael and Sandra explaining the legal situation. We'll also arrange security at the property to prevent unauthorized occupation." I thought of Michael's face when he got that letter. Part of me felt sorry for him, but a bigger part felt relieved. For the first time in months, I had some control again. Robert was still protecting me, making sure our family legacy was preserved. That evening, I called my sister Dorothy in Florida. At 81, she's the only one left who really knew Robert and me in our younger days. "Dory," I said, "you'll never guess what Robert did." I told her about the trust, the protections he'd built into his will, how he somehow knew this day might come. Dorothy was quiet, then started laughing. The warm, appreciative laugh of someone who had known my husband for 50 years. "That's our Robert," she said. "Always 3 steps ahead, always taking care of his girls." Hearing her say his girls made me cry happy tears. Even though he was gone, Robert was still taking care of his girls. The next morning, Mr. Harrison called with an update. He had sent certified letters to Michael and Sandra explaining the legal situation. He also arranged for a security company to install new locks and a basic alarm. The security team found something interesting while checking the house. It looked like someone had already been there, measuring rooms and making notes about furniture placement. My blood ran cold. Sandra's parents had already been in my house, planning their takeover like it was done. They had walked through the rooms where Robert and I had loved, laughed, and raised our son, probably discussing which precious belongings to toss to make room for their own. But the security team did more than change locks. They installed cameras that would alert us if anyone tried to enter without permission. They put up official signs stating the property was under legal protection and that trespassing would result in immediate prosecution. "Martha," Mr. Harrison said, "everything is completely legal and above board. Your husband's trust was expertly crafted. There's no way anyone can successfully challenge it. The house is yours, and it will remain yours for as long as you want it." For the first time in weeks, I slept peacefully, knowing Robert's love was wrapped around me like a warm blanket. Michael called the next day, his voice shaking with anger and embarrassment. "Mom, what is this legal letter?" "Sandra's parents are humiliated. They already gave notice at their apartment. They sold some furniture. Now you're telling them they can't move in?" "This is insane," I let him vent, then spoke calmly. "Michael, honey, I tried to tell you at lunch the house has special meaning to me. You didn't want to listen. Now you're learning your father protected our family home in ways you never understood." Silence. Then he said something that broke my heart all over again. "Mom, you're destroying my marriage." Sandra is furious. Her parents think I lied. "Michael," I said gently, "I'm not destroying anything. You created this when you decided to give away something that wasn't yours. Your father spent 45 years building and protecting that house for our family, not for Sandra's family." "For us," I heard Sandra yelling in the background. Michael's voice dropped to a whisper. "Mom, please, can't we work something out? Maybe her parents could rent the house, or stay temporarily until they find something else." I closed my eyes and thought about Robert, about what he would want me to do. "Son, your father's will is very clear. The house stays in our bloodline. That's final." That Saturday was supposed to be the day Sandra's parents moved into my country house. Instead, it became the day they learned their daughter's husband had promised them something he never had the right to give. According to the security company, a moving truck arrived around 9 a.m. Sandra's parents, Michael, Sandra, and even my 2 grandchildren were there, ready to help. But when they tried the old key, it didn't work. When they tried to pry a window, the alarm went off. And when they called the police to report a break-in, the officers had to explain that they were the ones attempting to trespass on legally protected property. Mr. Harrison called me around noon. "Martha, the situation at the house has been resolved peacefully." The officers were very professional and explained the legal situation to everyone. Michael's in-laws were understandably upset, but they accepted that they'd been given incorrect information about their ability to occupy the property. I felt sadness and relief. Sadness for my son's embarrassment. Relief that Robert's planning protected our home. "What happens next?" I asked. "I believe Michael will want a serious conversation with you very soon," Mr. Harrison said. This likely opened his eyes to a few things he hadn't considered. Michael showed up that evening, not the confident, dismissive man from the diner, but my little boy, eyes red, shoulders slumped under the weight of his mistakes. "Mom," he said softly, "can I come in?" I think we need to talk. I led him to the kitchen table where we'd had so many important conversations and made him coffee the way he liked as a child, extra sugar and a splash of cream. We sat in the comfortable silence of a mother and son finding their way back to each other. "I messed up, Mom," he whispered, so badly. "I don't even know where to start apologizing." I took his hand. "Start wherever you need to, sweetheart." "I'm listening." He told me everything, Sandra's pressure, her parents' hints, being convinced I was selfish for keeping a big house while living alone. Believing his father's memory wasn't as important as keeping his wife happy. By the end, we were both crying. "Mom, I forgot who raised me," he sobbed. "I forgot the values Dad taught me. I forgot family means loyalty and respect, not taking whatever you want from the people who love you most." "Michael, we all make mistakes," I said. "The important thing is learning and making it right." "How do I make it right?" "Sandra's parents won't speak to me. Sandra wants counseling. The kids keep asking why Grandma and Grandpa can't move to the pretty house we promised. I've heard everyone, including you. First, have an honest conversation with Sandra. A real marriage respects both families, not just one. If she can't accept that your father protected our family home for good reasons, you have bigger problems than where her parents will live. Second, help me assist her parents without giving away what isn't mine to give. There are other solutions. Over the next hour, we made a plan that honored both families. The country house would remain in our family, just as Robert intended. Michael and Sandra would help research affordable senior housing for her parents. If they needed help with a deposit or moving costs, I'd consider contributing from my savings. "It's not about the money," Michael said. "It's about them feeling like they matter to our family. They were hurt that I promised something I couldn't deliver? I understand. Invite Sandra and her parents for Sunday dinner next week. I want to apologize for the confusion and talk about ways we can all work together as one big family." His face lit up. "Really, Mom? After everything?" "Honey, that's what families do. We work through problems together. We don't give up on each other when things get difficult." That night, we planned a special menu with Sandra's parents' favorite foods. It felt good to plan something positive. Sunday dinner was a huge success. Jim and Carol were nervous at first, but I made sure they felt welcomed and valued the moment they walked in. "I'm so sorry for the confusion," I told them. "Michael should have explained the legal situation before making promises. You're always welcome in our family, and I'd like to help you find a wonderful place to spend your retirement years." By the end of the evening, we were laughing and sharing stories like old friends. In the weeks that followed, something beautiful happened. Instead of the country house dividing us, it brought us closer. Michael and Sandra started visiting regularly, bringing the grandchildren to play in the same yard where their father had played 40 years earlier. Jim and Carol joined us sometimes. Carol helped me replant overgrown flower beds. We found them a lovely apartment in a senior community just 20 minutes from both Michael's house and mine. The trust Robert set up even covered their moving expenses and security deposit. Everyone was happy, and more importantly, everyone felt valued and included. One evening, Sandra pulled me aside. "Martha, I owe you a huge apology. I was so focused on solving my parents' housing problem that I forgot your feelings about the house. Michael told me the stories of how you and Robert built that place together. I understand now why it's so special. I'm ashamed I pushed him to ask for something so precious without thinking about what it meant to you." I hugged her. Understanding and forgiveness are what family is about. The country house has never looked better. With the trust funds, I fixed the leaky gutters, replaced old windows, and gave the whole place a fresh coat of paint. Michael and Sandra helped choose new furniture, pieces that honor old memories while making space for new ones. The grandchildren have their own room now, decorated with pictures of their adventures. Jim helped repair the old fishing dock, and now he and Michael take the kids fishing every weekend. It's exactly what Robert would have wanted, a home filled with laughter and love. 6 months after that terrible lunch at Peterson's Diner, Michael surprised me with a gift that made me weep happy tears. A beautiful book of family memories from the country house. Birthdays, Christmas mornings, Fishing trips, garden parties, 45 years of precious moments in a gorgeous coffee table book. "Mom," he said, "I forgot what this house really represents. It's not just a building. It's the heart of our family. It's where Dad's love still lives, and where we'll keep making memories for generations." The last page held a letter Michael wrote to his father, thanking Robert for protecting the family home and promising to teach his own children the same values of loyalty, respect, and love. "Dad, I'm sorry it took me so long to understand what you were trying to teach me, but Mom's gentle strength and your continued guidance helped me find my way back to what's important. I promise to be the kind of son, husband, and father that would make you proud." Reading it, I felt Robert's presence so strongly, it was like he sat right beside me. Today, our family is stronger than ever. Michael calls me every day, not because he has to, but because he wants to. Sandra and I are genuine friends now, sharing recipes, gardening tips, and stories about the funny things the grandchildren say. Jim and Carol are like the parents I never had. They're regulars at Sunday dinners and holidays. The country house taught us that love isn't about getting everything you want. It's about understanding what matters and working together to protect and preserve it. People sometimes ask if I was wrong to let Michael learn his lesson the hard way instead of explaining the legal situation from the beginning. I don't think so. Sometimes people need to face the consequences of their choices to truly understand why they were wrong. Michael needed to feel what it was like to lose something precious, to see how his decisions affected others, to find his way back to the values Robert and I taught him. And most importantly, he needed to learn that love and respect aren't things you can take for granted, even from the people who love you most. The trust Robert established has been such a blessing. Beyond protecting the house, it's taught us about planning for the future and how our choices affect those we love. Michael and Sandra have set up their own family trust, protecting their children from the same problems we faced. Jim and Carol did the same with Mr. Harrison's help. One wise man's foresight created ripples of protection that will benefit our family for generations. The country house became a place of healing for me. I started painting again. The sunroom is my studio now. I paint the garden, the pond, the old oaks Robert planted, my way of preserving the beauty he created. Last month, we celebrated what would have been Robert's 76th birthday at the country house. The whole extended family came. Michael and Sandra, the grandchildren, Jim and Carol, my sister Dorothy from Florida, even some of Robert's old factory friends. We told stories, shared memories, and watched the sunset from the porch swing he built. As the evening grew quiet and fireflies danced in the yard, I felt overwhelming gratitude for the man who loved me enough to protect our family even after he was gone. His wisdom, foresight, and unconditional love saved us from a mistake that could have torn us apart forever. The grandchildren, now 10 and 12, ask about inheritance and family legacy. They want to understand why the country house is special and what it means to be part of a family that values loyalty and tradition. Michael and I talk with them about money, property, and responsibility. Being part of a family isn't about what you can get. It's about what you contribute, protect, and pass on. I've begun volunteering with a local group that helps families resolve property disputes and inheritance conflicts. My story has helped others find peaceful solutions. An elderly gentleman protected his family farm after hearing about Robert's trust. A widow with 3 adult children used our example to start honest estate planning conversations. It feels good knowing our experience helps others avoid our pain. Even the legal profession took notice. Mr. Harrison says other lawyers have studied the documents as examples of excellent estate planning. Robert's foresight, protecting family property while allowing for legitimate needs, has become a model. He always said the best way to be remembered is to leave the world a little better than you found it. I think he succeeded. As I sit here looking at the garden where Robert and I spent so many happy hours, I'm filled with gratitude for the journey we've been on. Yes, there were moments of pain and conflict. Yes, there were times I wondered if our family would ever heal. But ultimately, love won. Understanding won. The values Robert and I tried to instill in our son guided him back to what is right and true. The country house that could have divided us became the foundation for a stronger, more united family than we've ever been. If you're listening and facing similar challenges, please don't give up hope. People can change. Love can overcome even the deepest hurts. Sometimes the very thing that threatens to tear a family apart can bring them closer than they imagined. Be patient with the people you love. Be firm about your boundaries and values, but never stop believing that redemption and forgiveness are possible, even in the darkest moments. Family is messy and complicated and sometimes painful, but it's also the most precious gift we have. The country house continues to be our gathering place, our sanctuary, our reminder of what really matters. Every summer, we host a big reunion where cousins, aunts, and uncles come from all over. The children play in the same yard their parents played in decades ago. The adults sit on Robert's porch, sharing stories and laughter late into the night. And I, the matriarch of this beautiful, imperfect, loving family, sit in my favorite chair and marvel at how one man's wisdom created a legacy that will endure for generations. This is what love looks like when it's protected, nurtured, and allowed to grow. Dear ones watching Granny's Voice today, remember, every family has storms and struggles. Every family faces moments when love is tested and values are challenged. But with patience, wisdom, and an unwavering commitment to what's right, those storms can make us stronger instead of breaking us apart. Don't be afraid to set boundaries when they're needed. Don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe in. And never, ever underestimate the power of gentle strength and quiet determination. Sometimes the softest voice carries the most authority. Sometimes the gentlest heart has the most courage. As we near the end of today's story, thank you for taking this journey with me. Your comments and messages mean more than you'll ever know. So many of you share your own family stories, your struggles and triumphs. We're all connected by the universal experiences of love, loss, forgiveness, and hope. Please continue to share your stories in the comments below. Your wisdom helps other viewers who may be facing similar challenges. We're in this together, supporting each other through life's ups and downs. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to Granny's Voice and ring that notification bell so you never miss our weekly stories. We have many more tales about family, love, resilience, and the power of doing what's right, even when it's hard. Your support lets me keep sharing these stories, and I'm grateful for every single view, like, and comment. You make this old grandmother's heart very full.